It didn't start with violence. It started with a sound so low, so ancient, only those who truly lived danger would recognize it. A growl, deep and deliberate, not of warning, of promise. The kind that says, I'm watching. I won't let it happen. Morning in Glendale wore a peaceful disguise. The calf glowed in sunlight, filtered through dancing leaves. Cups clinked, steam whispered from espresso machines, and quiet laughter rose like music. But at the far corner, untouched by the moment's charm, sat Michael Carter. Still, listening, his eyes were hidden behind dark glasses, but they weren't what made him blind. His world was built from echoes, vibrations, instincts sharpened by a lifetime of adaptation. And beside him, as unmoving as shadow cast in stone, sat Zeus, a German shepherd whose presence stirred more than curiosity. Something about him didn't fit the guide dog label strangers gave him. There was too much focus in his gaze. Too much soldier in his silence. To anyone paying attention, Zeus wasn't just helping Michael navigate sidewalks. He was scanning, calculating, protecting. Even now, long after the badge had been replaced by a harness, the fire hadn't left him. Because some warriors never stopped guarding, across the plaza, engines revved like rolling thunder. 3 motorcycles exploded into the street, shattering the calm like glass. They weren't lost. They weren't passing through. They were performing. The leader Chuck moved like he'd never been denied. Greasy smirk, leather jacket, cigarette dangling like a sneer. He walked with the arrogance of someone who thought the world was a joke and he was the punchline. His 2 friends trailed him, surveying the calf like scavengers hunting for weak spots. Zeus noticed before Michael did. Ears shifted, shoulders tightened, breath slowed, not out of fear, out of readiness. Chuck's eyes landed on the dog. A smirk curled. That you're seeing, I mutt? He said, loud and proud. Michael turned slightly. Calm, collected. He's my guide. Chuck took a few steps closer, waving a hand in front of Zeus's face like he was testing a reaction. Let's see how smart he really is. Michael didn't flinch. Zeus, stay. But Zeus didn't move because he was told. He stayed because he was watching, reading the man, calculating risk, choosing not to act yet. Chuck chuckled, but his laugh didn't echo. His friends joined in, though their eyes darted elsewhere. They felt it too, that edge in the air. Then Chuck leaned in, voice like a dare. Maybe your mutt's got some bite. Let's find out. The next second blurred. Chuck kicked a metal chair across the tiles, sending it skidding toward Zeus. A loud clang. Gasping voices. Scraping steel. Zeus launched not at Chuck, but between Michael and the threat. A wall of fur and fury, hackles up, body rigid, growl rising from deep within the earth. Not rage. Protection. The calf fell silent. A woman stood trembling. Leave them alone. Chuck stepped back, trying to wear his laugh again, but it slipped. He'd lost the moment. Michael reached out, finding the tension in Zeus's back. Easy, he whispered, but Zeus didn't ease. His gaze locked, his breathing steady. He wasn't reacting anymore. He was predicting. Chuck had made a move, but Zeus had read the intent beneath it. The truth that hadn't yet happened, and somewhere in the space between that growl and the silence, one truth became clear. This wasn't over. IT had only just begun. It came back with silence, not a sound, but the lack of one. A pause in the night so thick, it pressed against the walls like smoke. Silence so unnatural, even the dog could feel it. Michael lay in bed, hands folded on his chest, listening to the slow rhythm of Zeus's breathing nearby. But then something changed. The dog's breath caught. Muscles shifted. The silence wasn't empty anymore. It was watching. Zeus stood without a command. His body moved with eerie precision, paws landing soft on the floor. A low growl, like thunder too far to hear, but close enough to feel, rolled through his chest. Michael sat up. Zeus, then the knock. 2 heavy hits against the door. Not urgent. Not polite. Purposeful. Michael's heart picked up. He reached for the leash on the nightstand. "Who's there?" He called, steady but sharp, a beat, then a voice. Smooth. Confident. "Just me, man." "Chuck. Thought we could talk." "Maybe." Clear the air. The name hit like ice down his spine. Zeus let out a sharp bark, stance locked between Michael and the door. His tail went stiff, ears forward. Not aggression. Readiness. Michael didn't hesitate. He dialed 911. "This is Michael Carter," he told the dispatcher. "I'm blind. Someone's outside my apartment. My service dog is alert. I think it's a threat." Outside, footsteps. Shuffling. Then another voice low, muttering. Chuck wasn't alone. Zeus paced near the door. Every movement calculated. His breathing slowed again, almost meditative. Then came the second knock. Heavier. Followed by scratching at the window. Michael froze, metal scraped glass. Like a crowbar. A blade. Someone testing the latch. He backed into the corner. "Stay close, Zeus," he whispered, tightening his grip on the leash. Then everything went quiet again. Too quiet. Footsteps circled the building. Slow. Mocking. A man laughed. "Didn't mean to spook you, blind guy. We were just saying hello. Get away from my door." Michael shouted. "Police are on the way." But they didn't leave. "Not yet," Zeus snarled, lunging forward but stopping short. His restraint wasn't weakness. It was training. He was holding the line, then sirens, distant at first, but growing fast. Tires screeched, radios cracked. Lights bounced through the window like angels made of red and blue. Scrambling feet retreated. Chuck and his friends ran into the night, slipping into darkness before justice could grip them. When the officers arrived, Zeus didn't flinch. He held position until the moment they stepped inside. One officer knelt, reaching gently toward the dog. "You're lucky you had him," he said, eyes scanning the window's fresh scratches. "Looks like they were serious," the other officer nodded. "Some dogs don't just protect. They sense things before they happen." Michael turned toward the sound. He used to be military. K-9 unit. "I thought those days were behind him." The officer shook his head slowly. "Some instincts never retire." Zeus finally relaxed his stance, but not his eyes. He kept watch as the officers filed out. Michael crouched beside him, whispering low. "You felt it before I did." But Zeus didn't respond. He just stared out the window, ears twitching, breath calm but alert. The danger had passed. But it had left something behind, a promise. It would return, and when it did, so would he. 2 nights passed, but peace never returned. Not for Michael. Not for Zeus. The apartment was quiet, but the kind of quiet that never feels safe. Every creak of wood, every flutter of wind at the window now carried meaning. The air felt heavy like the storm hadn't passed, only paused. Michael sat at the kitchen table, hands curled around a lukewarm coffee mug. Zeus lay by the door, not asleep, not relaxed, just waiting. "Always waiting. You haven't slept," Michael whispered. "Neither have I." Zeus didn't move, just flicked an ear. Then Michael did something he hadn't done in years. He picked up the phone and dialed a number he'd buried long ago. It rang once. Then "Michael, Rachel," he said quietly. Something's happening. They came back. And I think it's Zeus they're after. Silence. Then the voice on the other end sharpened. I'll be there by sunset. Rachel wasn't a stranger. She was the one who trained Zeus years ago, back when he still wore a vest marked K9. She had seen him in action, had seen what he could do before the world believed in such things. Zeus began pacing again before noon. Not aimlessly. With purpose. His tail hung low. His nose worked the air. He paused near the door, ears flicking toward something only he could hear, then the envelope. It slid under the door with ghost-like silence. Zeus snarled before it even stopped moving. Michael crouched, picked it up. Inside, a single photo. It was him, sitting at the café, Zeus beside him. A red X scratched across the dog's face. Michael's breath caught. This isn't about scaring me, he said. They want him gone. When Rachel arrived, the sun bled across the sky in streaks of red and orange. She didn't knock. She just entered like a soldier returning to the battlefield. Her eyes went straight to Zeus. Still got that fire, old boy. She said softly. Zeus didn't bark. Just wagged his tail once, eyes sharp. Michael handed her the photo. She studied it in silence. They know who he is, she muttered. And they know what he used to be. She opened her laptop. The screen lit up with encrypted files, logs, field notes, training data. Zeus wasn't just trained to react, she said. He was part of a pilot program, dogs conditioned to detect human behavior patterns, emotional shifts. He wasn't reading actions. He was predicting intent. Michael leaned forward. He senses things before they happen. Exactly. He's not a pet. He's a preemptive shield. Then Zeus moved again toward the door. Not growling. Just standing. Waiting. A soft knock followed. Rachel drew her sidearm, nodding to Michael. Stay low. She opened the door. No one there. Just another envelope. Inside a flash drive, Rachel plugged it in. The screen flickered. Grainy video played. Chuck's face. His voice. Zeus mid-lunge. And in the background, one of the men sneering. Let's see how tough he is without the mutt. Rachel slammed the laptop shut. They're planning something. Michael stood slowly, placing his hand on Zeus's back. No more waiting, he said. If they come. We ended. Zeus looked up. The decision was made. Midnight settled over the apartment like a trap, quiet, cold, waiting to snap shut. Outside, the wind held its breath. Streetlights flickered but offered no comfort. And inside, Zeus stood watch, his body still, but every muscle coiled tight. He hadn't left the door in hours. Michael sat cross-legged on the floor, hand resting on the dog's back. The warmth of Zeus's fur steadied his thoughts. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. Both knew the tension wasn't fear, it was a signal. A feeling only shared between those who faced danger and waited for it to knock again. The police had upped patrols, but Michael knew that wouldn't be enough. Not this time. Chuck wasn't just angry. He was threatened. And threatened men were dangerous. You feel it too, don't you? Michael whispered. Zeus didn't move. But his breath slowed. His ears twitched. His body leaned forward by just an inch. The lights cut out, and a warning. No flicker. Just darkness. The hum of the fridge died. The clock stopped ticking. And all at once, the air felt heavier. Michael didn't panic. He reached for the flashlight, but kept it off. Every instinct told him don't give them your eyes, even if you don't use them. Then came the sound, soft, careful. A hand dragging across the back window. Zeus spun first. No bark. Just a low growl, almost inaudible. A signal. The latch shifted. Michael whispered, basement entrance. Zeus started across the room, silent as smoke. Michael moved to the far wall, listening for the pattern of boots against tile. Then the crash. The back door burst open. A figure charged in, followed by another. Shouts. Footsteps. The smell of sweat and steel. Michael shouted, "Zeus, stand!" The shepherd moved like a bullet, fast, silent, and direct. He didn't bite. Not yet. He blocked the first intruder, forcing him into the wall with sheer presence. The second man tried to flank, but Zeus pivoted, cutting him off. A scuffle. Then the unmistakable sound of a gun cocking. Michael froze. So did Zeus, for a breath. Then he moved. The growl turned into a roar. There was a crash, a yelp, metal skidding across tile. The weapon hit the floor. One of them tried to run, but the sirens were already wailing. Red and blue light poured through the windows, followed by the heavy slam of boots and shouted commands, "Hands up." The intruders were swarmed, disarmed, cuffed. One officer stayed behind, watching Zeus closely as the shepherd backed off. Returning to Michael's side without being told, Michael dropped to his knees. Arms around his dog. "You did it," he whispered. "You protected me." Zeus didn't wag his tail. He didn't bark. He simply pressed his head against Michael's chest and stayed there, steady and still. And no cheers followed. No headlines. Just silence, but it wasn't empty. It was peace. Later, when the police were gone and the apartment was safe, Michael sat beside Zeus on the floor, one hand in his fur, the other gripping nothing at all. They had survived something unspoken. And they both knew it wouldn't be the last fight in life, but it had been the most important, not because of how it ended, but because of how they stood through it, together, always together.